Southampton, we're very aware of the benefits of cross-disciplinary research, and so it was possible for me to find out about Cheryl Metcalfe's work on the movements of the hand, which she developed in the first place for medical reasons, for stroke rehabilitation and so on. But of course, pianists are very interested in the movements of the hand, and so Cheryl and I got together.
HAWK stands for Hand and Wrist Kinematics, and kinematics means movement. And what HAWK does is very accurately measure the movements of the wrist, the hand, the fingers and the thumb. So particularly my interest came when I wanted to assess the rehabilitation of stroke patients. And I wanted to be able to compare the relationship between movement and function. And up until that point, nobody had ever measured hand movement.
With what I think of as techno warts, little reflective bumps that stick on every joint, and then I played while she filmed me with infrared cameras, and she was able to create a three-dimensional map, as it were, of me playing the piano so that I could see myself playing from underneath and from in front and see exactly what my hands are doing.
Once you understand the versatility of HAWK to be able to measure various aspects of hand function, then you can move and apply it in different ways. And I started working with Winchester School of Art and interacting with sculptures, and then was put together with Professor David Owen Norris.
Pianists very often strain their wrists, and this technology can be used to monitor recovery and to make sure that recovery is going as it should be. It might even be able to be used, as we get more used to how it interacts with piano playing mechanisms, it might be able to be used to ward off injury in advance, which would be very, very valuable. Is a musical one, and we can see with the movements of the hands combined with the sound that is produced from a piano exactly how pianists produce certain sounds. And so our hope at Southampton is to create a studio laboratory with a fine grand piano in it and fully equipped with sound recording equipment and the infrared cameras so that we can create an archive, an audio-visual archive, which could be fully analysable of pianists and indeed of other musicians, of violinists and singers and so on, so we can see exactly what their movements are and how those movements create particular sound.
Initially, David came to us. He'd been working with Cheryl on electronic keyboard, and then came here and we were discussing various aspects of doing similar research on a real piano. And there are a number of differences that are there because the pressure on which you play on the key on a piano can be different. Touch weights can be slightly different, whereas on an electronic instrument you can adjust touch weight. On a piano, it is set. Then is there a different feel between ivory and plastic? How much sensitivity can be picked up from the top of the keys on the white notes and then on the black notes? And it really developed from there, getting into real pianos rather than electronic pianos, and obviously we're generally dealing with musicians and real pianos.
Particularly for this presentation of Cheryl's ideas in London, it seemed to us that it would be a good idea to have lots of pianists present. And so before long, there'll be a pianist sitting at each of these instruments, and we'd be playing 11 pianos at once and seeing what that sounds like, and singing as well, to trumpet forth the musical application of what Cheryl's been doing.
There are two things that are unique to human beings. One is the development of language, and one is opposable thumbs. The ability to rotate the thumb across the fingers to oppose the fingertips has allowed us to adapt and evolve as a species.
Today is a great partnership event between ourselves, the university, the Musicians Benevolent Fund and Bluthners Pianos in what is really genuinely a quite unique event. We're not only here, of course, to enjoy some fabulous music by our very talented students. But most of all, we're here to hear about a really unique technology developed by colleagues in our Faculty of Health Sciences in collaboration with the musicians at the university.
In the wider perspective, I want to see how versatile HAWK is. If we can measure hand function, say for example, in how somebody interacts with a cockpit in an aeroplane, we can redesign the cockpit to be able to facilitate a more fluid transition between the mechanisms that they have to do be able to do their job properly. And that kind of thing, redesigning environments to be able to help the user rather than hinder them, is something that I'm interested in doing as well. I believe Southampton University is the only university that could have put David and I together in a room. We have an infrastructure of multidisciplinary research that facilitates collaborations between the disparate faculties such as humanities and health sciences. You wouldn't naturally assume that those two faculties could work together, and yet here is an example of some really useful and interesting work that seems to have captured the hearts and minds of people and has been the subject of much discussion, and is why we're here at Bluthners today.